My name is Leonardo Vivas. I'm the coordinator of the Latin American initiative at the Carr Center for Human Rights Policy here at the Kennedy School. And for the Carr Center, it's a great pleasure to have here Luis Moreno Ocampo, the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. He agreed to share some of his time here. He's spending here at Harvard to talk about the court, some of the issues and the decisions that have been part of the legacy of the court. And but before, I just wanted to say just a couple of words regarding the International Court and about Prosecutor Moreno Ocampo. Firstly, the question of institution building in terms of the human rights it's kind of it's been a long process. Last year we were commemorating the 60 years of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and which took place in 2008 and 1948. And at the time, also, some of the important decisions and about genocide and criminal and prosecuting criminals from war took place approximately at the same time. And it was with the Nuremberg trials when that began to take a greater form. And then, of course, later after the Cold War ended, it was when it began to take a greater form in terms of institutions. And maybe the most immediate precedents were the international tribunals for the former Yugoslavia and for Rwanda, both of which had a number of results and a number of shortcomings which were crucial for then putting together the International Criminal Court. It was in July 1998 that there was a conference held in Rome where this was approved, and it took some time to make it effective. And in 2003, it was established, and Prosecutor Moreno Ocampo was elected at the time. So I just want to say just 2 words about prosecutor. He worked first as a prosecutor in Argentina, and he was mostly known because he was part of he was assistant prosecutor at the trial of the juntas. As you remember, that was part of the prosecution of the dirty war in Argentina. And where 9 senior commanders, including former heads of states, were prosecuted, and 5 of them were convicted. Then he served as district attorney for the Federal Circuit of City of Buenos Aires, during which time he prosecuted the military commanders that were involved in the Falklands War. During the time, he was also teaching at the University of Buenos Aires and also at Stanford and at Harvard. So with little more than 3 years to go at the International Criminal Court, it is my great pleasure to leave you with Luis Moreno Ocampo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have my microphone. No, my microphone is perfect. So you can listen to me. Yes. Thank you very much for this invitation. It's a great opportunity for me to meet with the Harvard and the Kennedy School community, and I will explain to you what I'm doing here and what I expect from you. It's not totally free conversation. First, As he said, I was appointed prosecutor 6 years ago for a 9-year term. So I finished in June 2012. And for me, it was very useful when I came here back in 2005. I spent 2 weeks with some people in the law school discussing my policies, what I was planning to do. And 6 years later, after the beginning, in some way we put the court in motion. I have different work, I have trials, and I have 3 trials in motion, I have 8 investigations in motion too. And in addition, just analyzing the jurisdiction of the court, in some cases like could be Afghanistan or Gaza, who is a very preliminary analysis in which I'm doing nothing, just decide if I should do something or not, this also has impact. And then for me now, my next few years are about how to maximize the impact of the court activities. Because if the work is to prevent genocide, it's not just a judicial work. It's a work that requires political leaders, require negotiation, require army, require artists, filmmakers, expanding, discussing the issue, so NGOs, activists, everyone. So in the law school, someone called this the shadow of the court. So it's not just what the court will do, it's what others will do because the court is working. And that's the Kennedy School work. So my feeling is, I came here to discuss with some people my policies, but also I like to see who has interest to do something in connection with this. And I like to see who are you with interest and how we can work together. I found, yesterday we had a class with your dean and Chris Stone about acting in time. And they were discussing particularly the genocide in the Darfur case. And I think it helped me to define what we have to discuss. Because why it's difficult to react? Because basically no one knows exactly what to do. There are no protocols. There are no clarity on what to do. And it doesn't mean armies know what to do. Armies are very well organized, they plan, they have clarity and command responsibility, they know the rules. Lawyers in trials know the rules. We know how to collect evidence, what will be admissible or inadmissible, many rules for lawyers. But then when you reach the political actors, it's different because the political actor normally has less rules because they have to harmonize people. Okay, what are the rules for them? But then, because there are no rules, there's no clarity what to do, and then at the end, no one has enough interest to put a lot of efforts to manage this, and then it's a collective action problem. And then we need people thinking on that. And that's a challenge for Harvard, I believe, because Harvard is at the same time one of the biggest American university, but it's also one of the biggest global universities. So are you just American or also global? You can, and that's something you can discuss. I need both parts, but in particular I need the global part. Because US is not a member party, a state party, but 110 parties are in the court, and I will show who are they, and then we need to discuss what to do. So what I need is people in the Kennedy School defining not what the lawyer will do, is what the political actors will do, how they will manage the responsibility. And in fact, the problem is, I would say, people focus on the court activity inside the court. But we know how to manage the court. The rules are clear, and we are applying more or less the standard who every good professor knows. But we are working in a very primitive environment in which no one knows the rules, how politicians have to manage this issue, because it's a new world. It's a world in which suddenly we are trying to impose the law in the global system, and that is not something that we are doing. And in fact, for many people who work in international relations, it's a huge mistake. International relations are not about the law. So that's a new thing. The Rome system is a new paradigm. It's a shift in the paradigm on international relations, and we need a new thinking. And that's why today I'm here, trying to understand who are you will work on this, what we can do. So I was thinking, he told me it would be a small group, so I was thinking, okay, we have a conversation. Now a group is bigger.
A group.
But I don't know how much time we have, but I'd like to know who are you. So, can you tell me, who are you a lawyer? I hope there are not many. Who are you a lawyer? Can you? Okay, we are more or less 20%. Who are you are working in political science? Education? Military? What else could be here? Business people? Business people? No, yeah.
Human rights.
Human rights? Ah, okay. Human rights. What other group is here?
Economists.
Economy. Where are the economists? Okay. Journalists. One journalist. Two journalists. Three journalists. Good. Who else?
Medicine and science.
Medicine and science. Science? What science? The others also pretend to be science. What do you mean? You're attacking. Okay. What else can I ask? Some of you want to say something specifically to say, look, I have a specific interest? Students. Who are students? Many students. But someone probably combine both. Who are professors? We have few professors. Can the professors talk? So, yes, you have a leadership here. So can you explain to us what you're teaching normally and why you are here? Yes, you are one of the professors. Yes, I'm sorry. Identify you.
I'm actually from Boston College, David Hollenbach, and I'm the director of the Center for Human Rights at Boston College.
Oh, fantastic. The first time I came to the U.S. to a conference was to your place.
I met you there.
Fantastic.
At Castro. Right.
Fantastic. Who else is here? Professor. Yes.
Well, I come from Mexico City, and right now I'm taking a course at the John F. Kennedy executive course, but I teach at Tecnológico de Monterrey, Campus Ciudad de Mexico,
Wow.
Mexico City, and I teach international humanitarian law.
There. Fantastic. Who else is professor? He is professor. Tell us.
I'm Louise Drupa, and I'm a graduate from your school, 87, and I'm the co-chair of the UN Studies program, which was developed at Harvard and MIT, and it's now housed in Suffolk. And I teach UN and preventive diplomacy, UN and humanitarian governance, peacekeeping, human rights, and refugees and international humanitarian law. Everyone is invited. UNSP Suffolk, where we have our senior UN lecturer program, and Prosecutor Moreno Ocampo is already invited.
Okay, that's very interesting because I see, what I see today in the world today, I don't know what you think, is we have a global governance problem, and in not just in genocide or in climate change, but global finances. And the problem is, in this country, when you have a global public problem, you have a government to deal with the problem. We have a global governance problem without global government. And that, I think, is one of the problems. And the UN is an evolution from Westphalia, no? To have something beyond national states, in particular the Security Council, with the veto power on this structure. And the next thing I will say, the ICC is a huge paradigm shift, because it's a model in which we have no global government, but we have global rules in which all the parties agree, all the parties on the treaty agree to the global rules, and they accepted that an independent monitoring system will enforce when they are not enforcing. So it's a different design. It's not a global government, it's a global design with a network of states who agree and some enforcement. It's like, imagine the US without the White House, without the Congress, without the FBI, without the army, but with 18 judges and one prosecutor seated in Washington, committed to enforce. No, you laugh, that's the system. Okay, that's a contribution. That's the model. The model is a system to create collective action based on rules, plus a court and a prosecutor who will implement the rules when the states fail to act. That is the model. And we are testing the model. And I will suggest, and I would like to present this in the Kenyan school, this is a model that could be a solution for other areas. In fact, Davos is inviting me from seeing the financial crisis because they are looking for a global governance model that does not need to create a global government. Everyone knows it will be impossible. So that's why I like to present to you not just cases or court activities. I like if you think a little on this as a new global design to managing it. That creates some laugh because it's new, but also that's a problem. We are living in a very primitive world. That is the real issue. We are living in a world in which we are still killing each other. And the problem now, we improve a lot in how to kill each other, so it's dangerous. And that's why we need something different. And the issue is the court activities are important, but if then no one, the impact will depend on how the other reacts. It's like in the business side. Lawyers working for companies, they are not going to court. When a company is in the court, it's a failure of the lawyers. The lawyers avoid to go to court because they follow the rules. And that is the beauty of the model. No, not about court activities. Few cases in the court, huge preventative impact in the world. That is the model we are trying to develop. And in fact, some of this is working. Because since the idea was approved, armies all over the world are adjusting the rules to the Rome Statute. And that is a way to be sure that the violence is applied in accordance with the law. That is the best we can. And so I think we need people thinking in these global terms, including thinking how the creation of the court impact in the UN model. So let me present a couple of ideas and then we start the conversation. My first idea was to show you a little why we have this model. And I have this to show you why we have this.
1945, the bomb called Little Boy was loaded into a B-29 Superfortress. It was released above Hiroshima. Three days later, Nagasaki suffered a similar fate. An estimated 145,000 people died within seconds, and tens of thousands more would later die from radiation sickness.
This is one way to use technology to kill people. Let me show a different technology to commit people with managerial technology, not based on nuclear weapons, is based in just organized massive killings in the concentration camps. This footage came from when the Allies occupied recovered the camps. And these are the good guys just trying to manage the disaster. And the next thing I want to show you, and I think one of the use of, is an excerpt of the Eichmann trial. Because what I like to show you is how this type of massive atrocities are committed by organizations. And in some way, the criminal trials expose organizations, but also dilute the analysis of the organizational aspect, because criminal law is about bad individuals, not about bad organizations. And that's why I'm the Kenyan school. I need to develop better analysis of organizations, not just bad individuals. And to show that, let me show you the Eichmann excerpts.
Es war eine gesteuerte, planmäßige Auswanderung Und ich bedauere nur, dass diese Tätigkeit nicht während des gesamten Krieges bis zum Schluss fortgesetzt hat werden können. Forcierte Auswanderung hieß beschleunigte Auswanderung. Jawohl.
Accelerated immigration, that was.
Das ist richtig, aber nicht meine Schuld. Das ist bedauerlich, aber nicht meine Schuld. Ja, die Auswanderung ist ein ungeheuer kompliziertes Gebilde und da muss man sich schon auskennen, wenn man überhaupt irgendetwas erreichen will. Meine Aufgabe war es gewesen, die transporttechnischen Angelegenheiten so zu steuern, dass es termingerecht und dass die Zahlen nicht überschritten wurden durchgeführt. Für die Räumungsangelegenheit hatten anfänglich die örtlichen Stellen das Transportmaterial selbst zu erstellen. Dies führte zu großen Wirrnissen aller Art und das war der Grund, warum ich nach Berlin befohlen wurde, damit dieses neu aufgezogene Referat diese transporttechnischen Angelegenheiten zentral in Berlin bearbeiten soll.
So, it's not a crime, it's a managerial problem. You have to manage transport, accelerated immigration. That was his job, that's what he was doing. And that is for me that we had to learn. We are dealing with, when we deal with massive atrocities, we are dealing with massive organizations, and it's not individuals. And then we are not learning enough how to prevent this. However, in 1998, and where is my family? There was a discussion in Rome in 1998 to create a solution for this. And the solution was strange, was this idea to create a criminal court, like you laugh in Washington, no, okay. That's what they decided after 160 states, after 5 weeks, to end impunity for the most serious crime of concern to the international community, and thus contribute to the prevention of future crime. So that is the mission, the institution they created. And because I am doing the cases now, it's my time to think how to maximize my contribution to the prevention of future crimes. That is what I'm trying to do here. But that requires not just that I have to be a good lawyer in court, I cannot present wrong cases, but even if my cases are perfect, will not be enough. It's about what happened after. And that is, I'd like to discuss with you, how we can maximize the impact of this court. And one interesting aspect, and that's why I like to show you, is this discussion created a lot of controversies. Because in particular with this country, US was really supportive of the idea of justice, but they like to define when and against whom apply justice. That was the concept. And other countries, for different reasons, to say no, should not be the Security Council the only organ to present the cases. The court should be independent. The prosecutor and the judges should decide when to open a situation. And this has no precedent, because this is a big difference with Nuremberg. Nuremberg was interesting because for the first time, international community went beyond the states. They identified individuals as responsible. So there was criminal responsibility of individuals. But now, the selection of who would be prosecuted was selection of the 4 countries who wanted, and then the UN supported this. And then you had Yugoslavia and Rwanda Tribunal, who again, the UN Security Council created a tribunal in specific situations. The Rome Treaty is different. It's a common agreement, and for the country who signed, it's the law, and the judge and prosecutor will decide to apply the law. And that's why it's a shifting paradigm in international relation, because suddenly the law became a constraint in international relation, and suddenly judges and prosecutors became an important actor in the conflict. And that was, wow, what is this? No way. So it was a discussion in Rome the last day, and was a motion to postpone everything presented by US, and suddenly they lost. 120 states vote again and approved the Rome Statute. And the next issue was okay. Not so bad because they need 60 countries to ratify. But the 60 countries ratify in July 1st, 2002. I will show a map showing the evolution. This is the world, and in light blue you see the countries who signed the treaty, and in dark blue the countries who ratified the treaty. And then in July 1st, 2002, more than 60 countries ratified the treaty, and then the treaty became operational. And in 2003, the judges and prosecutors were appointed, and interestingly, for the last 6 years, the ratification process was growing, and keep growing, and growing, and growing. And you will see now where we are. That here. So, where we are. This is a system, is a justice system for 110 states who accept that they have a duty to punish and prevent these type of crimes. Genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. Who are they? Canada and Mexico in the north of North America, all South America complete, West Europe complete, non-Arab Africa almost complete. Then you have Jordan, Afghanistan, Mongolia, South Korea, Japan in Asia, and Australia and New Zealand. So these are the countries who are members of this confederation. It's like an agreement. I would say, the economists help me, but I think this is similar to the NAFTA agreement. No? It's an agreement in which you have rules, no government between Canada, Mexico, US. Who else is in NAFTA? Chile is in NAFTA. And then you have judges who make decisions on the conflict. That's it. And this is similar. It's not the European Union. It's a different type of institution. And I would say, why is it important? It's important because it's difficult to understand, but at the end of the day, we are protected by institutions, not by police. Why there is no war between Alabama and Massachusetts today? Yeah, you laugh, but it was a war. And now it's not possible because you have institutions who will solve the conflict without going to war. Why it is not possible to have a war between Germany and French today? Because we have the European Union, you have institutions who will be another social factor, but there are institutions who will ensure collective action to stop this. So that's what the best we have to manage international violence is this. That's what we have. So for me, and going back to my question is, my work, how a tiny court in The Hague, who is doing 3 cases in the next 3 years, will end violence in the world, just if we are able to change the behavior of the 110 states, and the 110 states expand to the world. So it's not about what the court is doing, it's about how political leaders and business people and journalists and all of you work to understand that we need to build a different model. That's it. I can stop here, but I will do very fast the rest. Because that's the main idea I like to convey to you. And I like to discuss with you what we can do, what you need, what opportunities are here. But one little comment on Africa, because some people say, why you are in Africa? If you think that, there are 3 regions who are almost complete. Non-Arab Africa, South America, and Europe. And these 3 regions led the establishment of this treaty. And they left because they suffered the crimes. But basically, Europe suffered the crimes almost 60 years ago. In the last year, it was just the Balkans and now Georgia, not a lot. In South America, the only country is Colombia, with massive violence. Africa today have massive violence. And interestingly, in Africa, there are a critical mass of new leaders who are trying to change this, to stop this. And they are fighting with other leaders who are keeping the old tradition, keeping power, killing people. And that's why in Africa we are strategic. It's not luxury. For Africa, we are crucial. Let me tell one story. One of the authorities of the court went to Tanzania and had a discussion with the president of Tanzania, and the issue of that we are not against Africa arrived. And the Tanzanian president said, "I'm sorry, judge, but forget this. You should open a new case in Africa. You should open a Kenya case. Because if you are not helping Kenya to manage the violence of 2007, will be violence against in 2011-12, and then Kenya will collapse. And if Kenya collapses, Tanzania collapses, economically, and the refugees problem. So for Tanzania, it's not a good idea. It's a survival idea. And that's why, and it's similar for Congo, it's similar for all these, and similar for the people in Darfur, similar for people in northern Uganda. So it's not about principles, it's about survival. South Africa President Becky told me, prosecutor, you have to understand, for Africa, it's strategic. If we have a third Congo war, Africa has no future. And that is something we have to understand. The court is exactly helping the countries who need help to manage violence and to move ahead. And the core concept is we need everyone supporting those who have this problem, because that is the new idea. We are a global community helping the one who needs your help in the moment. I remember I had a conversation with President Museveni from Uganda about the possibility to invite or not President Bashir, who is indicted. And President Museveni was explaining to me, prosecutor, you have to understand, at the end of the day, President Bashir is my tribe. And you have problem to understand because it's a tribal issue. And I said to him, but President Museveni, I love the tribal concept. In fact, I always believe that you and me are also the same tribe. We are the ICC tribe. Because that's what we are building. We are building a global tribe called humanity that we're trying to protect each other. And that is the main concept of the ICC. And we have 110 states who accepted this idea. So again, the concept is how this idea is not just for the court. No? Because when you have here a mafia problem, you are not saying, okay, you have a mafia problem, we are trying to solve the problem, negotiating with them, we'll offer a job in health and maybe in development, and then if they fail, maybe we prosecute them. No, this UN can do that, but not in Boston. The mayor of Boston will be fired if he promotes this concept to fight a mafia in Boston. And that's the normal way in which international community manage violence in the world. I'm sorry. So we need to do something different. Okay, let me go very fast to what we are doing, and then I like if you talk a little. This is the court. This is the main concept again. The main concept is not just what the court is doing, is that armies all over the world are adjusting their operational standard to the Rome Statute. And we analyze situation on the world, and we dismiss many complaints that they are not under our jurisdictions. We select the situation in Congo, Uganda, Darfur, Central African Republic, and now we are requesting to intervene in Kenya. How we select situation is about comparing gravity. So here you have a graph showing, the first graph is about killings. You see 7,000 killings in DRC since 2002, more than 3,000 in northern Uganda, and more than 300,000 in Darfur. Is complicated. So when I arrived to my office, the first people were talking about Iraq, because I arrived in June 2003. But in fact, Iraq is not a state party, US is not a party, so I can do nothing in Iraq. And I had to select the case, and the gravest cases were Colombia and Congo. The difference is in Colombia, there are national proceedings. In Colombia, they are conducting prosecutions. And then my duty is not to intervene when the national prosecutor intervenes. And then in Congo, nothing happened, so I intervene. And then we select Northern Uganda, and then Darfur came, higher. Then you have rapes. Rape is a difficult number because the rapes are denounced. You never have the number of rape. It's the relation between 1 to 5, 1 to 10. So this number had to be multiplied. But even if they had to be multiplied, you see Central African Republic case have more rapes than killings. So the Central African Republic case is basically a massive rape campaign. And then you have people millions of people displaced. You have 2.4 people million in DRC, 1.3 in Uganda, 2.7 million in Darfur. Let me explain this, because being in a refugee camp is something really hard. We are alleging that what happened in the camp for displaced people in Darfur is a genocide. And the judges say at least it's extermination as a crime against humanity. And I never went there because I cannot protect the witness there. I went to Chad. Chad is different. In Chad, they're in a bad situation, but people are trying to help them. In Chad, one of my officers was trying to move one witness to a different camp. And then the car was surrounded by a group of people saying, we also would like to leave this place. Take us. And then he was discussing, without saying what he was doing, was discussing something with them to convince them to let him go. And then 3 women came and dropped their babies through the window and say, go to Europe, save my baby. So imagine how you would feel if you are willing to give your baby to someone who had no idea who was. And that is a refugee camp 10 times better than Darfur. And there are 2.7 million people living in these places. So these are part of the crimes that we are ignoring. So we selected Tomás Lubanga, the leader. My policy is to prosecute just the most responsible. I can explain to you after that why. We issue an warrant against Tomás Lubanga, the leader of one of the groups, and Bosco Ntaganda for enlisting child soldiers. I like this picture because you see this picture, this kid with the Kalashnikov, and the backpack is a teddy bear. And that is the contradiction of the child soldiers. Then you have Matthew Ngujolo and Germain Katanga, the leader of 2 militias from the Lendu group, who was the other group who was fighting with Lubanga group. Then you have Joseph Kony and 4 of the leaders of Lord's Army, a group who was abducting children for 20 years in northern Uganda. Then you have Jean-Pierre Bemba, the leader of one militia, he was the vice president of Congo and was a senator when we arrested him in Belgium. And he was conducting an operation in Central African Republic when he basically raped, his group raped massively the group of citizens that they considered supporting the rebels against the President Batasse. I can say something else on this. They rape a lot of women, but they rape men. And the men were raped, they identify, that's why we allege it's planned, because they identify the chief of the quartiers or the head of the neighborhood, and they rape his sister, his daughter, his wife, and they rape himself in front of all the village. And I have Catherine Mackinnon as my gender advisor, and we're discussing with her why this guy raped the man. And she said, gender crimes are crimes committed against women, to discriminate women, because they are crimes committed against women, or majority of the victims are women, and they are crimes of discrimination. In the Bemba case, they raped this man because they wanted to discriminate them so much that they treat these men as women. That's why they rape them. So it will be the first case of command responsibility for rapes. And that will come in April, we start. He is in jail. We also have Darfur, we have Ahmad Haroun and Ali Kushib in the first case, the President Bashir, and then Abu Garda, who was a rebel commander who attacked peacekeepers in Darfur. And normally we were thinking gravities about the numbers, but when we saw attack on peacekeepers in Congo, we started to think, okay, attacking peacekeepers is a way to attack many civilians, because imagine Somalia, when they forced to withdraw the peacekeepers from Somalia, Somalia was a disaster. So the Abu Garda killed 12 peacekeepers, but are peacekeepers protecting civilians. And these are the trials. These are some of the cases we received requests to intervene. And then this is before we open the investigation, we analyze our jurisdiction. And we are analyzing jurisdiction in these situations: in Colombia, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Palestine, in Georgia, in Afghanistan. In Kenya we requested, it's a little old, we requested in December to open the investigation. I don't know that. Impact, prevention of future crimes. That's something some of you could work on this, because as you know, it's very difficult to establish causal relations. We are not pretending causal relation. It's a fact. Since we intervene, in most of our situation, killings drop. So the red lines are killings, thousands of killings. And they drop in all the situations. However, the first case is Darfur, and the blue line are millions. So, yes, they are killing much less, but they are subjecting to conditions that we believe a genocide 2.5 million people. So it's not enough. And my point is, our preventative impact depends not just on us, depends on how the other actors react. And also, in the case of northern Uganda, with the second graph, the line is good in terms of killings in Uganda, but you will see in 2008, in Congo, they killed like 1,000 people. So, and this is a classic solution for the national system. I had regular meetings with chief of police from many countries. And the chief of the police just control crimes in their own country. They are happy the criminals go to other countries, for them it's success. Just talking about impact, interesting, local political leaders are adjusting to the Rome Statute. Political leaders are taking into consideration now the new standards, and that for me is success. No, Sarkozy was in the Georgia press conference as soon as the crimes occurred, and a journalist asked him a question he was not prepared. He said, "But Mr. Sarkozy, is it a genocide or not?" And Sarkozy, I like it because it was from the top of his mind. He said, "Oh, this is a question for the ICC." So he dropped the question to others, but basically for them it's clear this now is an issue that the court deals with. And this happened in 6 years. So for me, it's a great success. And even China is involved on this. China say, we are a non-state party partner. Ah, wait, my family is coming back. Insisting. No, oh no. Okay. Start again. Yes, I have more. I have jokes. This is Kenya. There are many jokes and front page of us in Kenya, even before I went to Kenya. So this is the Hague Express, and the pilot, and taking the guy prisoners to the Hague. So, and I think it's interesting to see how the cartoon put us in the social discussion. No, it's a different way. We are not just in the courtroom, and you have to develop this kind of tools. There are many jokes about Assad Bashir. And interesting, not just states, civil society is coming to see us, looking for justice. These are a rally in the camps. This is the biggest demonstration of citizens was from Sri Lanka, a non-state party. I can do nothing for them, but they came to The Hague looking for justice. The Hague, our building, is a place to look for justice. Not just for Sri Lanka people, also this is a Palestinian Authority. They came to The Hague to look for justice. What we can do is it's a legal issue, but they came looking for us in the middle of the Bashir arrest warrant. So for them it was a huge challenge because they had to fight in the Arab League to explain why they're looking for justice there. And they did it. And I always remind my people, this is our client, okay? She's our client. She's from Ituri. She was raped. She lost an arm. She lost a leg. She's not eating well. And no one cares about her. That's why my duty is to care about her. And then my point is what you can do for her.
Okay, we'll open the floor for question, comments, advice.
Contributions, offers to contribute.
Yeah.
My
Yes.
name's Tristan Reed. I'm a doctoral student in the economics department. And I think when you're talking about institutions, if you look at the evolution of international justice over the last 20 years, you've seen sort of parallel systems. There's the ICC, and then there's all these hybrid courts. You know, Sierra Leone, Rwanda, Yugoslavia, now Lebanon and Cambodia. And I was wondering, I guess, when you talk about prevention, there are different calculations that governments are making. You know, if I get a hybrid court, maybe I'll have more political leverage over the indictments and the sentencing. Or maybe if I have the ICC, I'll be able to tell my people that they don't have any legitimacy. No one will listen to them. And I was just wondering, what do you think the trade-offs are in effectiveness between those two models?
I don't think there are two models. I believe it's an evolution. I believe is because when I was in Davos discussing with people in global finances, I saw that there is a problem of speed. Financial problems are very fast. And you know how many years it took from in 1873 was the first time someone, was one of the Red Cross founders, talked about the need for international criminal court. And took 130 years to implement the idea. So there's a big problem between the time of the solution and the time of the problems. No? So, but in any case, hundreds of years ago, someone was dreaming with the ICC. Nuremberg was a huge move, and then you have Yugoslavia, Rwanda, and then you have the ad hoc, the hybrid courts, and now we have the ICC, like a move from a ad hoc solution for a permanent solution. I believe that the system is this. The others are maybe they create more political because they are political tools. As you say, it's easy to manipulate. And
I mean, there's sort of a question. Sometimes you need a lot of money to run a court prosecution. Maybe the U.S. is not willing to support something. The U.S. I don't think ever going to be willing to support the ICC, but you may be able to get lots of support for specific hybrid courts and then lots of money for it. So do you see the hybrid courts continuing alongside?
No, I don't think so.
Being absorbed into it?
I think more and more is the ICC. In fact, it was a discussion on Darfur, and even U.S. accepted that the ICC was the best and most efficient way. Yeah. And it's funny, Jack Goldman, who's here at the law school, wrote an op-ed about the convenience of ICC, and including the economic argument. We are not paying for it, so it's free, it's good. So, but just because you're an economist, I would like very much if people like you who is able to have these economic models start to produce game theory analysis of the court. Because we need to show, for me it's obvious, but I would like to have it mathematic supported, saying, yes, of course, if you're sure that you will be prosecuted, probably you will not commit the crime. No, this is not normal, it's difficult to prove in normal crimes, but in this type of crime, where political crimes, because normally these killings are to gain power. So, to have power in some region, in some locality, or in the country. And then, if any leader knows that as soon as he commits massive crimes, he will not get the power he's looking for, the impact of the deterrence will be huge. So I like to have, if you can have models showing that. I would like, in game theory, you have the Nash equilibrium, who I see sometimes is working. No, Nash equilibrium is the idea, context of the prisoner dilemma, everyone assumes the other will play well. And in fact, for instance, thinking this rebel commander who came to the court, we were thinking, okay, we are doing this case against rebel commanders. Who can arrest them? Because they are rebel commanders in Darfur. First, Sudan cannot arrest them, and if they arrest them, they will not give to me. So it's no chance to have an arrest warrant. So how to do it? And I think in some way we apply Nash equilibrium. Now, because the idea was, we went to all the rebel commanders, leaders, and say, we are going to issue a request for one case committed by rebels. You have to publicly commit yourself to the court, because you like the court when the court is indicting Bashir, you have to like the court when the court is also with you. And the five say yes publicly. Then after that we identify one, and we call the intermediate guy, say, guy, it's time to put your promise in reality. And he came. And he said, I am a political leader. If I want to remain a political leader, I have to face the court. Even and go to jail, and after I will be leader. So in some way, this idea that we are offering something, and they also play the best card they have, is happening. But it's like a story I'm making to you. I need something I can show to the mathematicians and the economists and say, yes, it's science.
There is actually a graduate student in the
Sorry?
There is actually a graduate student in the Department of Government whose name I unfortunately can't remember, who is working on this exact issue.
Okay.
Empirically. I wish you could.
Please connect to me.
Yeah.
I will give you my email, connect to me, because that's what I need. It's funny. We need to show absolutely this is a scientific idea. It's not an opinion, and then mathematics, normally, is helping.
Hi, my name is Badi. I am a student here at the Kennedy School. I'm originally from Guinea, so I will make a few comments related to Guinea and then I'll answer the question. So my first comment is about what you just spoke about, the efficiency of the track of prosecution. So in September 2008, there was a huge protest in Guinea. I'm sure
Yeah, I know.
you have heard about this. And there was a systematic rape
Yes.
and killing by military leadership
Yes.
to civilians. And there was a UN commission that launched an inquiry and they investigated. But while they were investigating Conakry, this increased the tension between the ruling junta, to the point where the aide of the president fired on the president because of this, because he was worried he would be persecuted. And basically to avoid it. And right now the president is in Morocco, evacuated, still being treated. But, so the first question I have for you is that, because obviously the court has been very efficient in establishing its legitimacy, and now people are fearing the system. How would you, is it possible to pick a high profile where the court can act very quickly, as you said earlier, act immediately and quickly to prevent something bigger and reinforce this idea rather than having this long and big protracted investigation that can take many years to litigate? So that's my first question. And the second one on a broader case is mostly in most of the cases, ongoing cases right now are in Africa, and there is a significant tension for people to understand people need justice, but at the same time there are prejudices based on history of colonization and other issues. I'm sure you see this most frequently, but I was wondering how, in terms of the process of launching investigation, issuing public arrest warrants, and the difficulties that you have in this, and how is it possible to win the population better by designing a better system where they feel they are much more involved and the court is actually serving justice?
On the first question, I believe first we're trying to be expeditious in the investigation. The people are thinking the Milosevic trial, who But because they were trying to show the history of what happened in the Balkans. My policy to focus investigation, and then the same people decided Yugoslavia Tribunal for the length investigation in Milosevic, because my small case in Lubanga. But it's okay, that's life, and we are trying to be expeditious. But the interesting thing is, we don't need a case to have preventative impact. As soon we announce that we are following what happened in Guinea, 2 days later, the Minister of Foreign Affairs from Guinea came to my office, visited us to explain and discuss, and today my office is in the area working on that. So I believe the preventative impact is established, as you say. But of course, depends a lot how people in Guinea and people in the neighbor countries and the other countries involved with manage this, and how you ensure that, okay, this is a line you cannot cross. You cannot cross. The second issue is exactly as you say. Okay, suppose I tell you, I'm sorry, I cannot do a new case in Africa. I have to show balance. That would be wrong, because yes, if I shall do a new case in Africa, I have to do it. It's not about, I cannot prosecute 3 men and 3 women from different continents to have geographical balance and gender balance. These are normal rules. So I basically focus in the cases according to the gravity. And as I said before, in Africa, the victims are African, so I'm working on them. When the Rwanda happened, the comment was, the world ignored African victims. Now they say, oh, but you focus in African criminals. Okay, I am not ignoring African victims. It happens that the criminals are African. In fact, that was a policy of Bashir to present this as an attack in Africa. Fantastic, because he was applying, his people were killing people saying you are Africans, because he divided Arabs and Africans. He was trying to kill those who are African. And now he pretends he is the victim of a colonial attack against him because he's African. But people are smart. You know, the surveys show in Africa countries, 75% of people believe Bashir had to be arrested. And in the Arab world, it's around 45%. So people understand. In any case, I have a lot of space. I'm a lawyer. I have to follow the rules. The rules say gravity is a concept. I do that.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So just quickly, because you said that, I mean, I will continue this later. But just that the minister came to your office, and obviously they are trying to do everything they can to cover up. And the court has been very effective in discouraging things that could have gone much, much worse. But at this point, the president is abroad. The likelihood of him being arrested once he comes back is very, very small. So there are many people who hope that you would act very quickly in just getting him.
But Morocco is not the same party. Morocco will not give me.
Well, it's most likely you'll be acting in Spain in the next 2 days.
Okay, interesting information.
But we would hope to see something that is very quickly done, that is high profile, and he's actually arrested before going back to his I don't know what you think.
We'll see.
I have one question that's more concrete and one observation that's more general. Concretely, I'd like to know what the status of your investigation in Kenya is. I know that there was expectation that there might be some judgment from the pretrial tribunal even by now, and I know the Kenyan human rights officials have raised urging you to move forward more vigorously. I'd like to know, when can we expect to hear from what is going to happen in Kenya from you, if you have a sense of that now, and do you think the Kenyan government will collaborate with the necessary arrests? That's the very pointed and particular question I'd like to raise. The second is more of an observation, and that would be about prevention of these really grave crimes from occurring. Seems to me to be very much part of your agenda, but it's also part of the agenda under the responsibility to protect doctrine, which has evolved on a different level through the United Nations, with the Special Advisor Luck working with the Secretary General on the R2P doctrine and so forth, and whether creating institutions that could be both legal, political, and on the R2P front, even perhaps military, to address these as a package of grave violations that might be worked on simultaneously. So the more practical question about Kenya first, and then the more general one, if you would.
In Kenya was the first case in which I used the proprio motu power, independence power, to open investigation. It's funny to see how the world evolved, because the U.S. ambassador on war crimes was 100% supporting my decision and saying, yes, Kenya authorities had to protect the prosecutor, support the prosecutor. I told him, hey, Steve, be careful. The U.S. was totally against the independence power of the prosecutor, saying, no, it's okay. Kenya is okay. So things are changing. Things are evolving very fast in this world. And I went to Kenya, and in fact, I explained to President Kibaki and Prime Minister Odinga, look, I am an independent part of the Kenyan justice system. That's why I came here. And I'd like to tell you in advance that I had to open an investigation. I can do it with you referring the case to me or independently. And they say, no, we cannot refer the case to you, but if you will open the case, you will do it, you will support you. And then I say, okay, it's your option, no problem, but I like people to understand that even if I open the case, you will support. Then President Kibaki say, I will be with you in the press conference, go. And also he told me, you have to also talk. So we went there, he talked, Odinga talked, I talked. They were very happy, and President Kibaki said, okay, now we have to go to lunch with the prosecutor. And the media say, wow, they never offer lunch to coffee. So they are treating you better than coffee. But the issue also is interesting. Kenya is a very interesting country because the media is very open. So everyone knows, everyone discusses, everything discussed in the media. And civil society is really supporting the idea to do justice. They are tired of this. So I arrived to Nairobi airport, and the airport was paralyzed. I went down to the stairs, and then there were 300 workers there. All the airport was there watching me go down. So in some way, with the political leaders' support and the society, I don't think someone could stop this. So we had to be good in the technical aspect, we had to investigate the case well and present the good cases. But I think Kenya could be a success because we can show in Kenya that we can help to prevent massive violence in 2012. And that would be a huge change. But of course, what it's showing is it's not just about the court. It's about Kofi Annan, international community supporting this idea strongly, and it's about national leaders. And that's what we need, and we'll do. And R2P is okay, it's the same idea, it's supporting this idea, so R2P is perfect. We are implementing, we have more on the ground, no? But it's okay.
We had a question for
Thank you. 3 small points. When I did my doctoral work in the 80s here at the law school, coming from the Kennedy School, on prevention, refugee-producing situations, it was the Cold War. It looked impossible, but if one now takes a look back in order to look ahead together, which we should do here, many institutions have been built. And you're right, it's institutions, but it's also people who matter, as Theo van Boven said in his book. It's interdisciplinary research. It's economics, it's law, it's politics, it's security. We have to bring it all together and put it out there. And from there, I was wondering whether perhaps your presentation and related presentations, I don't know, Leonardo, whether you could agree that it could be put up on your website at the Carr Center, that some of us here in the audience might be willing to not just talk about it, but to serve as multiplicators, cascaded to our respective environments, while teaching, while writing papers, while advising students. You know, this is material I'm working on it. I even took my students to the ICC last summer. I'm teaching also in Europe. And we were briefed by colleagues, but this ongoing research which you have been gathering and showing here, that will be helpful for us and also start from that level of understanding and knowledge and then move on from there. And I think many of us here probably in the room would be willing either to themselves or foster more research on it in the existing fora through the Carr-Ryan Center, the Human Rights Program at the Law School, or through our UN Studies Program, or at the Fletcher, wherever we are, in order to pull our heads together. So that would be very good, and if we could sort of stay in touch with you. I just want to say we brought Christine Chung, who was at your court as investigating as an attorney the Uganda case, and
yes.
she spoke to our students. And I think that's also something that we should try to identify people who have been working in the ICC, Judge Goldstone has been around and many others, but I think we should identify those who have worked in this environment. I spent 30 years in UNHCR, and I bring the humanitarian UN people together where feasible, but I think we could do much more. And the Boston-Cambridge area is, I think, a very privileged area. There can something come out of it.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you. But I like that you invite people. Also, I think this is a university, so we need your thinking. You need your conceptualization. You need to integrate army commander with judges, prosecutors, and politicians in particular. Because at the end of the day, I feel army and judges both are very rule-oriented. Because for armies, law is different with criminals, so for them it's important. So they have to show, it's like a samurai. You have rules. The problem I see is negotiators have no rules, and then sometimes they are not understand how to manage this, and that is a part of the problem. But of course, negotiations also probably have less rules, but this is what we need to conceptualize and to go beyond, including the idea, for instance, many countries, including China or US, consider their way to provide security for their people is to protect in their own country. In Hiroshima, after the atomic bomb, they think the way to protect their own people is protecting all the cities in the world. They have the concept that no city can receive an atomic bomb. So it's a different concept. We will organize a global system in which no one can do these type of things, and this will protect us. So that is the way they are thinking, and it's a different way. I don't think you can just stop your national defense system because, oh, Hiroshima is a nice idea, stop it. But I think these two ideas have to converge in some way and see how to converge. Because at the end of the day, it's impossible for one country to provide security if the other country has different rules. And then we got to move how to establish order in a global system. It's not just a military operation. It's a complex operation that requires cooperation. And that is not the model of the 21st century. Many institutions are based on the idea of I protect my people attacking the others. And a friend of mine is prosecutor in Boston. He ran this case in which he found this Russian mafia who steal information from 100,000 people in the US. It was the biggest internet crime. And he had to get information. The servers were in Latvia and in Ukraine. So you see, crimes are not global now, not just. And then we discussed it, and then he said, and I asked him how difficult it was to get information from Ukraine. Oh, it was very difficult, but you know what? We got information from Ukraine, we got information from Latvia, we never could get information from the US Secret Service. Impossible. So that's saying something to us, no? Okay, maybe we have to refine our national strategic policy, because what's happening if my prosecutor cannot get my information to protect my people? So there is a problem here. When I saw what happened with this guy, the Nigerian guy, you had information. How you manage information is the problem now. And the funny thing is, it's classic in intelligence area to share information. not to share information. And that's, I believe, it's a problem because the criminals share information very fast. They are very good sharing information, and we are not very good. Yes.
Yeah, we had one from Gretchen here.
Yes, I'd like to ask you about the use of ICC indictments as bargaining chips, as we've seen in Uganda, where the idea is it's very useful, thank you for helping us get to a peace process, but now it's sort of inconvenient and in the way. I was in this very room a couple of years ago with Ugandan women who were parliamentary leaders, civil society leaders, who were saying, thank you very much, you've helped us get around the table, you've helped us get to this point, but now could you please disappear in terms of the ICC indictments? How do you deal with that in your conversations with President Museveni? Are you able to articulate that these are not things that are brought on the table and then removed as if they were dessert?
When I met Museveni a few months ago, so this was done. But we always say the same. That's the point. Yes, they can say whatever, but the case was always there. And in fact, for me, the issue, we never withdrew, but for me, the issue is negotiators have to understand the facts. Because what's happened is in the Kony case, you have to know Kony 5 times did the same. When he's in a bad shape in military conditions, he say peace, then he's calm, he collect money, collect effort, and attack again. And in fact, the last 2 times, he attacked even his delegates, the person from his group who were engaged in the peace discussions. So you have to understand this guy is not making peace because if you know more the facts, and that for me is something interesting. You cannot see a military operation without previous intelligence. You cannot see a trial without previous collection of evidence. And you see all the negotiators ignoring the facts, had no idea what happened before. They just jump there, I am charismatic and smart guy, I will solve the problem. And they ignore the facts. They ignore that why Joseph Kony will make peace. Joseph Kony wants girls to use as sex slaves and boys as soldiers. And he likes to live in the bush. He lived in the bush for the last 20 years. So he's not trying to conquer Kampala. So he has nothing to win. He likes to be a commander in the bush with his army. So if you understand his logic, he will not make peace. So if you have a negotiation, you have to have a negotiation which you understand, okay, I never will make peace with the number 1. I had to organize a system to make peace with the number 3 or number 4, number 5, and then solve the conflict. So you need a different scheme. And that's what we are missing here. We are not solid protocols how to negotiate in different conditions, how to understand the game. That's what I'm missing. I see we have very sophisticated rules in the armies, sophisticated rules in the judiciaries, and very primitive system in the political system. Zimbabwe is not a part. Let me show you. It's not there, you see? But then you have to go, I am in Sudan because the Security Council referred the case to me. That's another show of evolution, the same way that US supported my independent investigation. The day of my swearing in 2003, I told my international legal advisor, look, the best way to start the case is, and to build the institution, is to receive a Security Council referral. How to do it? She told me, it's obvious you have no idea about international relations because you never will get a Security Council referral. You have 9 years tenure, you will not see one Security Council referral in your 9-year tenure. She was right, I was wrong. However, 2 years later, Security Council referred to me Darfur. So things change. But without Security Council referral, I cannot do a case. I have no jurisdiction. It's like asking an American prosecutor working in Germany. I have no jurisdiction. So I can do nothing in Zimbabwe.
I'm with Physicians for Human Rights, and we're an NGO down the street, but we work very closely with many people at Harvard, and including faculty and students. And I wanted to go back to the last slide you showed of the woman. What can we do for this woman, and that she's your client? Because as we know, it's been very difficult. You showed to get the numbers of rapes in many of the countries, especially Darfur, but also in general. I'm sure the Congo number is a huge underestimate, et cetera. But also, just to think about, if she's your client, but also all of the women now and possibly in the future are your clients. And the issue comes up for these women, as we've studied and interviewed them in a number of situations, what is justice for them. First of all, how you think the evolution of the ability at the ICC to actually prosecute rape in detail and the challenges that involves, so that the stigma of rape is somehow reduced. Because as we've interviewed the survivors of rapes in Darfur, for example, and this is true in many of the other countries, once you're raped, you, as you know so well, you suffer ostracism, abandonment, as well as all of the physical challenges. And the court also has this whole reparation potential, but it's going to take a very long time, and the money, for example, the Victim Trust Fund is so small. So that's one, sort of a big question I have around. I think it's great that you have Catherine McKinnon there, who's so zealous about this issue and talented, but we're all struggling with how do you do it. And then when I was at The Hague at one of the meetings to discuss these challenges, it's come up that it's very difficult, if not impossible, and the investigators and prosecutors are very reluctant to put women on the stand for many obvious reasons. And yet many of us think that at some point those voices have to come out, whether they're protected in all kinds of ways. And then a quick political question that it's sort of parallel to this, and it has to do with the first thing that you started out with, which is the political will and the political environment of the court. Yesterday, Scott Gratian, General Gratian, who's the U.S. Special Representative for Darfur, for Sudan, said a lot about reparation and forgiveness and reconciliation and compensation for Sudan, that's the U.S. priority in the negotiations. And then he said, and there will be justice at the right time. And that's this issue of timing for this kind of justice, and how the U.S. statements like that affect your work and what we could do to kind of address that and respond is my second sort of question, your advice to us.
I'm happy to third question. Interesting question, complex question, because basically both questions show that we are at peace in the solution. We are not we cannot expect or dream that the court will solve all the problems you mentioned. We can do something, and we're trying to do something. In all our cases, gender crimes are part of the crimes. So for us, gender crime is mainstreaming, is part of our intervention. In particular, in the Bemba case, who will start in April, is basically the first command responsibility case of rapes. So we're charging Bemba for his command responsibility, and basically the crimes committed are rapes and pillage. And I think that could be important, because if the commands understand they have to control their troops, that could have impact to reduce these massive atrocities, massive rapes in these conflict areas. That's what we can do. We cannot, the social stigma, we are trying to help. I will try to see how else, okay. I will try to see what else I can do, but I will be a little part of the solution. I don't see I can be bad. We try to see, I think Bemba case is an opportunity for all of us to see what we can do for these women who were victimized. So I would love to help them. If you have ideas, I will try to do it, but I cannot, my tool is law and trial. That's what I can do. I will use that, but not so much. We are trying to help judges in Congo to prosecute more rapes, because in the kibbutz there are many people committing rapes. The problem there, and there are many countries who try to train judges, but that is what the problem of the Kennedy School could help. The problem to establish a justice system is not just about trained judges. You need security for the witness. In fact, there is one case in kibbutz in which one judge convicted 2 rapists. You know what happened? They were convicted, but the jail in kibbutz had no food. So they are not closing the door. So at the end of the day, they remain there with those who want to remain. If not, you're not in jail. So a justice system is not just about good lawyers, it's about a security, citizen, including jails, and they have no jail. So it's so much we can do, we should do, that you cannot expect we will do it. But we're helping to move from from a catastrophic, from a genocide situation to a catastrophic situation. That's our contribution. And the
Timing in the U.S. comments about Darfur.
I cannot comment on because that's the interesting part. I am a prosecutor, but as the prosecutor in the world, we cannot overrun police, so I cannot arrest people. So I need states operating on that. And of course, how the policy will define when people is arrested. So if you have a
politics around it, that in the peace negotiations, the Article 16 furl and all of that, your view, the fact that now our representative, U.S. representative, is saying, you know, justice in the right time, meaning later. Let's first negotiate peace and later we'll deal with the arrest.
yeah, but explain to them, explain this reconciliation to the 2.5 million victims in the camps. They are victims of genocide for us, and for the judges are victims of termination. Explain to them reconciliation. The problem is Bashir is a master to manage divisions, and Bashir played very well the idea. I don't know. Okay, I will do the long story. I remember when Secretary General Ban Ki-moon went for the first time to Khartoum. He was going to Khartoum again. We need solution, no problem, not talk a lot about justice, no. So he went to Khartoum and he left Khartoum, and 2 days later, Bashir not just not hand over Harun, who was a minister, he appointed Harun as the head of the Human Rights Committee. Okay. I know a lot of Arab leaders, so I talked with some of them and say, can you explain to me why Bashir is humiliating Ban Ki-moon? No, he's not humiliating Ban Ki-moon. So what he's doing? He's negotiating. Huh? Can you explain to me? I cannot understand. Oh, prosecutor, this is the Buffalo strategy. You know who knows the Buffalo strategy here? Okay, negotiate. No, you know. Oh, the Buffalo strategy is important for the books. It's the following. It's an old story, it's Jewish story, but Arabs use a story. The story is the following. It's a small village. A poor man went to see the wise man of the tribe, asking advice, and say, wise man, I have a big problem. My wife is furious with me, and the main problem we have is our house is very small. And I have 4 kids, we are not well in the house, and I have no money to expand the house. And then the wise man asks question, and the conclusion is, okay, you have house is very small, you have 4 kids, 1 buffalo, and nothing else. That's your, yes, I use the buffalo to work, I have nothing else, I cannot sell the buffalo to expand the house. Okay, you have to do this following. Take the buffalo, put inside all the night, and then in 1 week come back to me. Are you sure? Go and do it. Okay. Next week, the poor man comes and says, wise man, you are the wise man, but it's a disaster, my life. My life is a disaster, my wife is furious with me. Now she wants to kill me. She's leaving me. The guy is crying. And then the wise man said, she's so upset. I never saw, she's so furious like today. Okay, now is a good time. Now, take the buffalo, put out of the house, and tomorrow come to see me. And the next day, the guy comes and says, oh, you are so wise. My wife is so happy today that the house is perfect for us now. So that's the classic strategy. You increase the problem to say, I can solve the problem. So one strategy was before, when we request the arrest warrant, and the policy was to veto any decision to stop the case, 65% of UNAMID was deployed, and the humanitarian assistant received 3 times more permits. Now, when Bashir was indicted, he expelled the humanitarian organization, confirming he's trying to kill these people, and then he was rewarded. Because he created a problem, the Buffalo strategy. He created a problem, and then now he offered a solution. Okay, some of them can come back. Okay, I can solve the south. So appeasing and ignoring what's happening in the camps.
Thank you very much for coming. I'm pleased that you came and asked for advice and you're seeking connections. And if there's one thing I can offer, I would say to recognize that time is on the court side. Law gains momentum, gains custom with time. And I think American president who's strongly committed to institutionalism, and I think we're strongly moving in that direction. However, I would like to focus on, if you want to improve, I believe you should look at shortcomings as well. And I'd like to present an alternative narrative to the one I'm hearing from The Hague and from Harvard. I worked for the Honorable Betty Mungi in Uganda Parliament. I worked for one of these young women who was charismatic and believed that she could solve the situation. She grew up in an IDP camp. Her life was ruined by Joseph Kony.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a peace deal on the table, and Joseph Kony would not sign because the last issue was the ICC warrants. Now, as you said, can we trust him? We don't know. That's certainly an issue.
No, it's a big issue.
It's a big
Because
issue.
you are saying, oh, he did not sign for this reason. I would challenge you. He did not sign because he never will sign. He's abusing of you. He was killing, when he promised to sign, a few weeks before he abducted 100 kids in Central African Republic. So why do you believe he will sign? He killed Vincent Otti because Vincent Otti was close to the negotiation. So why do you believe he will sign? So that's a big deal. So your assumption is a big deal.
I'm not assuming. I think
Okay.
it's a big deal. I wanted to ask you a question regarding though.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I find an issue with entering into ongoing conflicts. Is there a way you can avoid being manipulated by what many people believe that President Museveni manipulated the court? You announced the court, the arrest warrant next to Museveni. Many people think he's a war criminal himself. And then secondly, in regard to what you just said, how can we trust Joseph Kony? Was there any effort by the court to find out how committed he was, or to engage in some kind of a plea bargaining system where it wouldn't have been a prosecution, but it might have had some kind of a settlement?
It's not my job. My job is prosecute, not to make agreement with them. And what we collect is evidence. First, we select the situation. When I started my job, one of the real difficult issues was what cases we present. And then decided to analyze the gravity and choose select situations according to the gravity. The gravest were Congo and Colombia. Colombia was not admissible. Then after Congo was Uganda. So I publicly request Congo to refer the case to me. If not, I will open the case myself. And then Uganda came to my office. That was the background of the Uganda visit. They came to my office saying they were innocent in Congo. And I said, okay, we'll see. But in the meantime, you have the law restitutionality problem. Do you like to refer to me? And then, so I invite them to refer, and they refer to me. They had their own motivation, no doubt, but it's normal. No, it's normal, people have their own motivation, I don't care. I did my case independently, impartiality, and no one has any doubt that Kony is a criminal. I have great evidence. I have Kony talking by radio saying we need to be in the BBC. We had to kill more than 200 people, and that's why they went to Bologna and killed people to appear in BBC. And you know what? He appeared in BBC. So we know Kony for the crime he committed, and you know Kony. When I started, okay, let me start even before. When I said I was thinking I had to do this Uganda case very clearly, and then I received the visit of the ambassador from one country who is in charge of the African department of the one country, beautiful country, very supportive. And he said to me, look, prosecutor, you're doing a big mistake opening Kony case. Why? Because we're trying to stop Kony for the last 18 years and we failed. And the only way to stop Kony is making a negotiation. And that was my first connection with the Kony negotiation, 2004, beginning. And I said, okay, if you like to negotiate with him, and you like me starting investigation, what you have to do is present to me evidence about how your negotiation is working, how my investigation will affect the victims, and then my duty to stop. And this is the legal answer, because the law says I should not investigate if it's against the interest of justice or against the interest of the victims. So I asked him to give me the evidence, and I was thinking it's a perfect legal answer, but the ambassador, not diplomatically, laughed in front of me and say, evidence, prosecutor, you have no idea what is a peace process. A peace process is a little light at the end of the tunnel. And he said, you need my evidence. Okay. My evidence is the following. I'm calling Joseph Kony, he's not taking the phone. Okay, I'm sorry, Ambassador, with this, you're not going very far. So, I was watching what happened in the Betty V. I opened the investigation. Betty V. Gombe started the negotiation. The negotiation was not affected at all by my intervention. Kony never talked during the Betty V. Gombe about me, and of course he refused to negotiate. And he was trying to kill Kolo, the leader of the LRA, who was discussing with Museveni group. So, and then we keep working confidentially, and then the negotiation collapsed without any mention of the ICC, and that the warrant was issued. And because the warrant was issued, Sudan expelled Kony from the Sudan. That's why Joseph Kony went to the negotiation table. Joseph Kony was very weak. Of course, Kony used the negotiation to gain money. The UN gave him $300,000 for the Juba talks. I asked UN how you're going to control this money. And they said, oh, we hired a KPMG. Okay, they were not so useful with Enron, why they would be useful with Joseph Kony? But that's what they can do. But then, for me, I would say the contrary. Look, guys, there are a lot of evidence showing that each time Kony used the negotiation to gain time and money and attack again. This is a graph of the killings of Joseph Kony in Uganda. You see they are low, but the line in blue is in Congo. This line. So, in some way, the situation in northern Uganda is better, but the situation the situation of crime is awful. I need your leader to help the Congolese people, because Kony will not go back to Uganda now. But the idea that we can stop to offer Kony negotiation, first, I cannot do it. Legally, I cannot do it. And no one is showing me that this is important, but I cannot do it. Yeah. So I would say we have not the possibility. It's time to integrate. Because we need negotiations, but negotiation has to include reality. Negotiation has to respect reality. In the same way that was a mistake with Chamberlain, make an agreement with Hitler and say, I shake the hand of this man, I saw his eyes, he's a man you can trust, and then Britain can sleep now, and was a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake to believe Joseph Kony would make peace. And it's a huge mistake, I believe that Bashir would make peace. Because for them, massive crimes are part of the strategy. You cannot appease that. And that's the problem I feel. I feel we need the Kenyan school thinking, what is between bombing or appeasing? There's a lot of activity in bombing. That's what an ambassador told me. Your ideas are interesting, but the problem is you have two strategies, bombing or appeasing. When they are not doing what we want, we bomb them. As soon as they start to negotiate, we appease them. That's it. Okay. We need a little more sophistication in the middle, guys.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree. Thank you. And I appreciate your thoughtful response. I just want to say from my experience working on IDP camps and living on IDP camps, it wasn't necessarily this. I met women like the one you showed there, and they wanted the ICC out of Uganda.
Of course.
I hope that you're sensitive to that perspective as well.
Look, in northern Uganda, there are two surveys, very good surveys, about what the people think. Priority, food and security. These are the priority. Justice is not the priority.
It's ICTJ?
Eh? Yes. Yeah, the Berkeley and ICTJ survey. So food and security are the two priorities. Justice is not the priority. But of course, when you ask them, do you like Joseph Kony prosecuted, most of them say yes. Most of them were victims. But of course, food and security are crucial. But that's why we have to do something better, not just appease Kony. Kony will not be appeased.
Thank you very much. My name is Ziad Heather. I'm a joint degree student at the Kennedy School and at Georgetown Law. I just have two very brief questions. The first is related to Afghanistan. You, I think, put up a slide that said there was some preliminary investigation that you were looking at.
Examination. No, we are defining what jurisdiction.
So if one question is if you could just elaborate on that. And the second is you put up a map saying all the countries that had signed on, and it is quite remarkable to see the growth. But at the same time, there are certain key countries, even leaving the U.S. aside, that are missing from having signed the Rome Statute ratified. India, China, I think Russia has only signed it, if I read your map correctly. So how much does it matter that these countries, the fact that this is obviously a court operating in a political environment, how much does it matter that these countries that are increasingly of political standing are not party, and is there any effort by the ICC in a sense to get them to sign on, or is that something that you just leave for them to figure out internally?
Answering the second question first, my only way to support, to increase the number of countries who ratify the treaty is doing a good job and being clear what they are doing. And in some way, this increasing the role of the court. In the Russians sent to us 3,000 communications about the Crime Committee in Georgia. So Russians are not a party, providing information to the court to intervene in a case in Georgia, who is a state party. China is normally saying we are a non-state party partner. So US, we have a relation with US. So even non-state party are in that. So the court became an actor in international relations. Full actor or full agreement for 110 states, or the state not, of course. For instance, Costa Rica. Costa Rica say, between the countries with no army, we are the biggest country. So, for Costa Rica, there are 26 countries with no armies in this world. Costa Rica is the biggest. And so they believe they are leading this idea of rule of law. And of course, for them, law is important because they have no army to defend themselves. If you are China, US, you don't need, you have your army to protect yourself. So you have a different tool to protect yourself. So that's why when you see who are inside, who are not inside, okay, you can understand why they are inside, why they are not. I believe in the long run will be a convergence, but in the meantime, we have these different interests, different views. And yes, we are intervening. Before we open investigation, my duty is to analyze if I shall open or not an investigation. And when there are crimes in the state parties, I had to monitor what happened. And this is Afghanistan. Afghanistan is state party, and then we are monitoring what happened there.
I don't know if you're able to, but could you elaborate a bit on what specifically the issues are that you were interested in?
In Afghanistan, there are a number of crimes committed by Taliban troops. We are not clear because there is no information. NGOs have a lot of information about crimes committed by warlords close to the government or members of the government. And NATO is providing a lot of information about bombing, collateral damage, and this type of thing. So there are different scenarios, there are different type of situations, but we are still trying to collect information to analyze what is happening there. No, I have no legal ability like Zimbabwe. No, because I can open an investigation independently. I monitor, I collect information about what happened in state parties. But in North Korea, Zimbabwe, Lebanon, Sri Lanka, Burma, Iraq, non-state parties, I do nothing.
Security Council.
Yeah.
Unless the Security Council.
Yes.
Or what about a referral from another state party?
No, but because all the concept is the territorial state had to accept the jurisdiction of the court. That is the way, that's why the court is different than universal jurisdiction. This court has the legitimacy of state who decided to provide security, as Costa Rica did, provide security through joining this court, the system. So no state can accept jurisdiction for US, so US has to decide. It's a sovereign decision.
Catherine McKinnon, and at one point several years back, I read a review of a book by Catherine McKinnon, which it asserted that she was equating all heterosexual intercourse with rape. Now, I'm curious to know whether whether I read this review correctly as far as you're concerned. If it's the same Catherine McKinnon, and if so, are you employing the strategy of the buffalo in a perhaps misguided way by including her in your...
That's a great outcome of this conference. I like very much you understood me finally. Such a good characterization of what I was saying. That's perfect. Exactly my expectation of Kennedy School. Wow.
But if you're going to use the strategy of the buffalo, then you see.
I'm not using the strategy of the buffalo.
With McKinnon.
I'm sorry, you're mixing two things. I explained to you what the Arab leader explained to me what the meaning of this type of strategy that Bashir is using. I think I was very clear. I am a lawyer applying the law. And in no case, they can me for many reasons, but no one say my cases are not proven or the law is not well applied. Okay?
My name is Juanita Huertus. I'm an LLM student at the law school. I'm from Colombia. I think the Colombian case has a lot of the things that you've been discussing. I don't know if you can elaborate a little bit on the reasons why the investigation did not turn into an open investigation, in particular all the negotiations that went on with paramilitary groups, law and peace, justice and peace bill, and how it turned out, the negotiation.
The best thing I can do, I don't know, let me show you. I have a beautiful. Colombia is a very fascinating case. Colombia is a vibrant society full of activity. Let me show something.
Analysis determined that the FARC guerrillas were responsible for massacres and kidnappings. It also found that thousands of civilians had been killed by paramilitary militias working closely with the Colombian army. The prosecutor decided to visit Colombia himself to show the serious intent of the court.
Esta es la primera vez que visito Colombia en mi carácter de fiscal de la Corte Penal Internacional. En la Corte Penal Internacional decide intervenir cuando los Estados nacionales no realizan investigaciones o ellas no son genuinas. No habrá impunidad para los máximos responsables de los crímenes más graves. Este es mi mandato y lo vamos a cumplir.
Para parar la violencia en Colombia es necesario que la justicia actúe, que no podríamos seguir permitiendo el fenómeno de la impunidad y que debemos proceder a judicializar, a acusar y a pedir las condenas, porque si no, el sistema internacional, la Corte Penal Internacional, nos va a llamar.
I would like to be sure that they follow the Colombia. They are national procedures, so my role is to respect them, but also monitor what they are doing to see how this investigation are proceeding.
So that shows the concept, no? Colombia is doing a lot, as Attorney General said, they don't like me doing the cases. So they're doing a lot. And this massacre we saw, that's the beauty of the national states doing. They have much more resources than me doing this investigation. They have these people doing this forensic work. They have a group investigating who commit the massacres. They have people protecting them. So there are much more efforts in the national city than in the international level. And that's exactly the concept. We are providing incentives to the national city to do it. That's the model.
other sectors to be involved to sort of support some of the efforts of the court and also push forward some of the concepts. And referring to some of the questions and also some of the past cases you've had, when you've involved other sectors and actors, for example, the political actors, there's been situations where I do believe, just from seeing you in the media and reading things, that you've had to maybe question some of the standards that you would like to adhere to in order to accommodate some of those other sectors' desires, political sectors. So when you are talking about inviting comments and feedback from other NGOs, political actors, economic actors, are you concerned that there may be a little bit of a degradation of the legal process and the judicial process that you would like to adhere to in the ICC? Because I know at the same time you're very vociferous about maintaining the legal standards when you do the prosecution. So I just wondered if you had some feedback on that and thoughts on how far you're willing to go to do that. Because when you open the doors, you'll get bigger countries, countries with a lot of pressure and power to bear, who will ask you to maybe do things that you may not want to do.
No, but the concept, in the law school, there's people in the negotiation area who explain few decisions on the situation between people who are married then are applied in the negotiations. So people who are trying to divorce apply the same principle that judges apply in decision they took. So the concept they develop is these few decisions have a shadow impacting thousands of other decisions that they never reach the court. So the court decisions affect the behavior of other actors who then follow the rules. And that, for me, is the beauty of the law. The law is not just for the judges and prosecutors and defendants. The law is for normal people. And that's why I present one of the biggest outcomes of the court is armies' impact, how armies adjust. So that's what I'm calling. I'm saying, guys, you have to define better how the negotiation is done. I cannot make an opinion how to do it, but I see how they are working. I see some of them are managing different standards than others, and that would be good to have a common protocol how to manage things. I don't think Kony could make an agreement, but I think they have to insist to make agreement with others to solve the conflict. So that's why I'm calling. The court should have the rules and cannot change the rules. The issue is the shadow, no? How big is the shadow? That is the point.
So then my suggestion would be just
Yes.
understanding clearly then your process, that some kind of a, I don't like to propose the ideas of other organizations. I'm not a very organizational type person, but an advisory, some kind of institution or organization that has some kind of advisory or policy-making capacity to push forward those things that emerge out of the shadows, like, as you said, out of the cases. Because, as you said, the court is one institution and you guys are very few people. So to be able to do that advocacy, to spread that message that we need to have better victim-witness coordination later after rape trials are over, or better ways to confirm and solidify political processes. So it's kind of, that may be something you might want to get states to get involved or to do something with. That way the burden is not on the ICC, but you have a lot of influence over it.
But that, the point I'm trying to make, it's not about what the court will do. It's how physicians of human rights, for instance, is lobbying to unveil what's happening with the rapes in Darfur. They are doing that. How this taken in consideration does not depend on them or us, depend on other actors, those who are negotiating, for instance. So they have also to discuss this issue. And I see this complex, for instance, just an example, as an example. February 2009, less than 1 year ago, was a huge discussion, at Yale University, another small university close to here. At Yale University, on Darfur, everyone was there. So very clear ideas what to do, how to be sure, stop the crimes, and marginalize al-Bashir and stop the issue. But then, new administration appointed other special envoy. I met the special envoy. He had no idea about Darfur case the day before. So he had his own ideas, came with different views, and then he did something different. So, and I see that. That's why the court is a very sophisticated operation on top of a very primitive operation. And that's the point I'm trying to make. So it's not about we having more advisors, it's the others articulating. And the point for me is Kennedy School is one of the few global institutions who can provide common protocols. That we can do. And the point for the human rights groups is, of course you have many agendas, but the interesting thing is here you have a system. When the prosecutor's agency make a decision to request an arrest warrant, and the judges issue the arrest warrant, 110 states act automatically. Do they like or not like it? It's the same. I was in countries with a minister. I had a meeting 1 year ago with the minister and the African Department director. And the African Department director for 20 minutes was saying, I was wrong, all the comments, all this comment, Uganda, blah, 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 blah. And then I discussed, I explained, blah, blah. And then at the end of the conversation, the minister said, prosecutor, we like that you listen our African department. We don't care what they are saying. If you move, we'll do what the court say and we'll follow the rules. So that's the interesting thing we have. We have not just opinions. This is the court and rules, and people follow. And I don't think NGOs, other activities are understanding we have to articulate better our efforts. That's the point. And then you need more conceptual clarity, what we are doing, how to achieve things. So how to arrest Bashir, how to make peace with Kony or with LRA. All these have to be further discussed, and not just, oh, you are the good guy or you are the bad guy. No, it's how to articulate and refine concept. That's what I am missing. And I see I cannot articulate well because I'm repeating this, and I don't think what I'm saying is clear.
I don't think you're not articulating well, but it emerged. You're sort of talking about a concept of a house that's already been built on a faulty foundation.
Sorry?
A house which has already been built on a faulty foundation. So to go down into the foundation and to try and to repair those, like you said, the primitive structure upon which this sits is difficult. So you're asking sort of questions. So
can we say differently? Right. We are the first floor. I like to build the.
That's right. And the normal approach, which has been used, has been to bring groups from the side, bring things from the side to bolster up that floor instead of going down. So what I believe you're asking us is to go down to the first floor, if you want to put it that way. So that's the hard question. So
for me, it's not go to our first floor or to our ground. It go to a different place and to harmonize. Physicians is a good example. They are NGO working with us. They are doing their job, but they understand. And then they follow and they present the Darfur case well, and they give us, we got information from them. So there are groups who are understanding, okay, here we have the possibility to maximize our impact too, so we have to understand that. That's what we need to do. And I see it's a new way to work, and I think we have to do better and more. And we probably is the beginning.
Hi, thank you. I have a quick question about a slide that popped up very quickly, and Venezuela was highlighted in green, and another country was highlighted. I wondered what that was.
We received from Venezuela a request to intervene, and we dismiss it because basically whatever we consider what happened in Venezuela is not a crime against humanity, is not a war crime, there are no genocide.
Dismissed officially?
Yeah. Yeah, people can present again, you can argue, but basically our threshold is really high because we are not talking about fairness or individual crimes, we are talking about crimes against humanity, war crimes, or genocide. That's why Venezuela case was, we found there were no crimes under our jurisdiction, we dismissed the case.
I have a quick question about the interaction between the peacekeepers. So, like, there's many people talking about like peace for just degrees first. So, is there any tactical interaction between like DPKO or any other NGOs working in that place?
What the question is?
Like, how technical interaction you were having or taking place in the region you were working in? Peacekeepers.
No, we are protecting peacekeepers, so we are doing the Ascanita case in which peacekeepers were killed because we believe peacekeepers should be protected. Then we have, it's a parallel operation, so we are doing our effort on justice, peacekeepers have a different mandate, humanitarian has a different mandate, negotiators have a different mandate, so it's like a different track. We are not intervening in the other tracks. We are trying to be clear what we are doing, and we are trying to give information where we are going. That's what we are doing. That we are not part of the other operations.
So do you feel that the ICC will go eventually toward a kind of universal jurisdiction where all crimes of that nature and that magnitude, regardless of whether the country has affiliated with Rome?
No, I think the concept is the contrary. The ICC concept is based on the idea state has to ratify. It's not state has to ratify. Zimbabwe was
ultimately North Korea won't ratify, or the countries that are too strong to be held accountable won't ratify it. What kind of a world is that? What kind of a
we are living in a bad world. You have to know. You have to know that. This is prospectively we have this miracle. Look, this idea was not possible before the end of the Cold War, and was not possible after the September 11. So this was a miracle. It was adopted between end of the Cold War and September 11, and it's a miracle. It's working and expanding, and we have relations with China, with whoever. So it's moving, it's working. Because why? Because it's needed. It's needed. The world needs global justice system, but it's complicated. It's not easy to establish rules in the world. That's the complicated. It's difficult. And then we are moving, and it's progressing. And I believe in 50 years, two possibilities. All the states are part of the ICC, or the world this was destroyed before. So.
Did you say 15 or 50?
50 years. Okay. Thank you.
Well, we have come to the end.